The morning light slipped through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Evelyn Hart's penthouse, washing the marble bathroom in gold. The city below was already alive with motion, but inside, everything was painfully still. The world might have seen. The founder of Serene Life Co. was untouchable, poised, successful, the woman who turned mindfulness into a global empire. Yet right now, she was a trembling mess in silk. 2 pink lines. Unmistakable. Undeniable. Her hands shook as she set the pregnancy test on the counter. Her reflection in the mirror looked too calm, too composed for what was happening. Her hazel eyes were wide, her chestnut hair perfectly waved, her robe the color of champagne. She looked every inch the woman who had walked away from a billionaire and built her own throne. Only the way she gripped the sink betrayed the storm inside her. 3 weeks. That was all it had been since she'd signed the divorce papers. 3 weeks since she'd told Julian Reed that she refused to live in a marriage built on lies and silence. And now, here she was, carrying the child of the man she swore she was done with. She let out a strangled laugh that turned into a sob halfway through. Life, it seemed, had a dark sense of humor. The morning sun gleamed off her wedding ring, still sitting in a porcelain dish by the window. She hadn't worn it since the day she'd walked out, but she hadn't been able to throw it away either. Maybe part of her still believed in what they'd had before everything shattered. Before the betrayal. Before the photos. Before she'd walked into his office and found his vice president perched on his desk. Julian standing too close. His expression unreadable. She pressed a hand against her flat stomach, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She'd imagined this moment once, long ago, telling him she was pregnant, watching his storm-gray eyes soften, hearing the joy in his voice. But not like this. Not alone. Not surrounded by the ghosts of their failed marriage. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A message from her assistant reminding her about the Carter deal meeting at 9. Another from her PR team. Damage control updates after the tabloids had torn her divorce apart. Headlines calling her the woman who walked away from a billion-dollar love story. They didn't know half the truth. She turned the faucet on, splashing cool water on her face, grounding herself. She had built a company out of chaos before. She could handle this too. She was Evelyn Hart. She didn't crumble. And yet, as she reached for her phone, her fingers hovered over a name she'd sworn never to call again. Julian Reed. She hadn't deleted his number, no matter how many times she'd told herself she should. Outside, the city roared. Horns, sirens, life moving on without her. She looked at the test again, at those 2 perfect pink lines. This wasn't just about her anymore. When she finally stepped out of the bathroom, her mask was back in place. Hair brushed, makeup flawless, her cream cashmere sweater hugging her growing anxiety. No one would guess her life had just changed forever. In the elevator, she caught her reflection again. The calm, confident CEO the world admired. But beneath that perfect exterior, something new was stirring. Fear. Hope. Maybe even love. As the elevator doors opened to the lobby, the doorman smiled politely. "Your car is ready, Miss Hart." She nodded, her voice steady, her world anything but, somewhere uptown. Julian Reed was probably sitting in his glass office, looking as untouchable as ever. But soon, he would know. Soon, everything would change. What Evelyn didn't see as she stepped into her car was the photographer across the street, camera flashing silently behind a tinted van window. Within hours, the photo of Manhattan's most famous wellness queen leaving a women's clinic would break the internet. And in a penthouse lined with steel and glass, Julian Reed's phone would light up with a headline that would stop his world cold. The storm rolled over Manhattan like a living thing, heavy and dark, pressing against the glass walls of Julian Reed's penthouse office. He stood before the window, still in the same suit he had worn since morning, tie-loosened hands buried in his pockets. The city below looked like a maze of lightning veins. His reflection stared back at him. Pale eyes, stormy jaw. Tight the notification on his phone still glowed from the screen. Serene Life CEO Evelyn Hart spotted leaving Manhattan. Women's Clinic had read the line 20 times, trying to make sense of it. He knew that clinic everyone in the upper circles. Did it specialized in obstetrics? Not wellness, not business. Not anything that made sense unless, his chest tightened until breathing became work. He grabbed his phone again and scrolled through the photos attached grainy but unmistakable Evelyn. In her cream sweater, head down, hand over her stomach. She looked fragile. He had not seen her in person since the divorce 3 weeks ago. And now she was in that clinic. The thunder cracked, and for a second he saw her face in his memory. Sunlight, catching her hair, laughter spilling like music the day she had pitched her first app idea to him in that crowded Stanford cafe he had known. Then she was different, and he had ruined it all. His intercom buzzed. "Mr. Reed, the board is waiting. Shall I tell them you're on your way? Cancel it." He said the words low but edged with steel. "Cancel everything for today, but sir, the quarterly projections cancel it, Lorne." He grabbed his coat and walked to the private elevator. His movements, sharp, mechanical. The doors slid shut. The storm outside, flashing like warning lights inside him, was worse lightning made of regret on. The ride down, he replayed that last fight. She had stood in the middle of their penthouse, holding her wedding ring in her trembling hand, saying she could forgive mistakes but not lies, and he had said nothing. Pride had frozen him. He had let her walk out instead of falling to his knees. Now that silence was all he heard. When the elevator opened, his driver looked up. Startled, "Sir, the weather's getting worse, we're tow her building," Julian said, already opening the car door. The rain fell like punishment by the time the car stopped in front of Evelyn's tower. Water soaked through his suit, but he barely noticed the doorman, stared as he strode past, dripping, leaving a trail of storm behind him. The elevator ride to her floor felt endless when the doors finally opened. He stepped into a space that used to be home. Every corner carried her scent. Candles, books, the small plant she had coaxed back to life. Even though he had once told her it was hopeless, she had proven him wrong back then, like she always did. He turned as her voice cut through the quiet. "You can't just land a helicopter on my roof again, Julian." "What are you doing here?" She stood at the end of the hallway in a soft ivory sweater, one hand protectively over her still flat stomach. And for a heartbeat the world stopped. "You're pregnant." The words left him raw, barely a whisper. "Very observant," she said, her tone sharp, but her eyes flickered uncertainly. "Is that what they're teaching billionaires? No." He took a step forward, water dripping onto her floor, his heart thundering. "That's my child, too." The air between them pulsed alive with every emotion. They had buried betrayal, longing, love, anger. She didn't move away, but her chin lifted steady. "I'm not yours anymore, Julian. You made that choice." His voice broke. "I never chose this. I never chose to lose you. Evelyn, please just let me explain." She shook her head. "Don't say her name. I can't hear it. Not in this house." He stopped inches away, every muscle screaming to hold her, but afraid to shatter what little piece she had left. "It wasn't what you think that day in the office. It was a setup. Cassandra wanted my company. She wanted me. She destroyed everything, and I let her because I was too ashamed, too proud to tell you." Her eyes shimmered and she pressed her palm against the wall for balance. "What difference does it make now?" "It's too late." "It's not too late," he said. "Not for this. Not for us." She looked down at her stomach, her breath trembling. "This isn't about us anymore. It's about our baby." He reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away just for a moment. Their fingers touched her eyes, met his, and the storm outside crashed like an echo of everything between them. She finally spoke softly. "You should go. I have a meeting soon." He nodded slowly, understanding that love was still there, buried under hurt. "I'll go, but I'm not giving up. Not again." As he turned for the elevator, She whispered one last thing. "Julian, don't send her to any more meetings. I can't look at her without seeing that day." He paused, his voice rough. "She's gone. Evelyn, I fired her the day after you left." She looked at him, then really looked. And for the first time in months, the distance between them felt smaller when the doors closed. He saw her touch her stomach again, and in her eyes, he caught something he hadn't seen since, before everything broke, a flicker of hope. Outside, the rain still fell, but for Julian Reed, the storm was finally beginning to clear. The next morning began with the steady hum of traffic beneath Manhattan's skyline, but inside the quiet of the daily grind, cafe time slowed. Evelyn Hart stood in line, her mind half on her morning tea, half on the constant pressure building behind. Her ribs, she hadn't seen Julian since the night he'd appeared soaked and trembling at her door and confessed everything. Now she wasn't sure if it had been a dream or a mistake. The bell above the door chimed, and the familiar rhythm of his footsteps moved through the room. She didn't have to look up. She felt him like gravity pulling her back into a memory. "Evelyn." She froze. His voice was softer than she remembered. She turned slowly. He looked exhausted, yet determined. His tie loosened. His storm gray eyes locked on hers. "You shouldn't be here, Julian. This is my space, my peace. If I have any left, give me 5 minutes," he said. "I'm not here to fight, just to talk." She shook her head, already walking past him toward the door, but his voice followed. "I know about the clinic, Evelyn. I know about the baby." The sound of it made her chest tighten. She stopped halfway to the street, turning on him. "How much do you know enough to want to fix everything? I broke to be part of this, to be there for you, for our child." She let out a shaky breath. The world around them blurred, commuters, voices distant. You don't get to appear out of nowhere and suddenly be the hero. Where were you when everything fell apart? When I was being torn apart by headlines and lies? Where were you then? "I was drowning," he said simply, in regret, in shame. "I thought you'd be better off without me." "I was wrong." Her hand moved instinctively to her stomach. "You think saying sorry will make up for months of silence. You think regret can rebuild trust, no?" he said, meeting her eyes. "But love can, and I still love you, Evelyn, more now than before, because losing you taught me what love actually means." For a moment, she wanted to believe him. She wanted to let the warmth in his eyes melt the years of coldness between them, but then a flash outside the window caught her attention. A camera paparazzi. "Again, you brought this," she hissed, stepping closer. "You brought them here. Now they'll print new stories. Serene life. Founder reconciles with cheating ex-billionaire, this time with a baby." He followed her gaze and saw the flashes outside. Anger flared in his face. "I didn't tell anyone. I swear on everything I have. Someone's watching us, Evelyn. Not just the press. Something deeper." She frowned. "What are you talking about?" "The sabotage that started everything." He said Cassandra wasn't acting alone. There were others, investors, enemies, people who wanted my fall and yours. They leaked those photos on purpose to destroy both of us. She stared at him, unsure if this was another manipulation or the truth. But when she saw the raw fear in his eyes, the same fear that mirrored her own, she hesitated. "Come with me," he said quietly. Not an order this time. A plea. Just one meeting with my investigator. Hear the evidence. If I'm lying, you'll never have to see me again. She hesitated, then nodded. "Once. Fine, one meeting, then I'm done." Later that afternoon, she found herself in a dimly lit conference room overlooking the city. Files spread across the table. Security reports, surveillance footage, timestamps, every piece leading to one truth. Cassandra had been a pawn, a cover for something bigger. Evelyn's pulse quickened as she watched the footage of the day. Everything fell apart. The blurred image of Julian pushing Cassandra away. The exact moment the camera flashes had captured only one angle. The video showed the truth. He hadn't betrayed her. He had been trying to stop it. She covered her mouth, tears burning. Her eyes, she had destroyed everything because of one manipulated image. Julian stayed silent, letting her process it finally. She looked up, her voice trembling. "Why didn't you show me this before I didn't have it?" "Then," he said, "I only found it a week after you left, and by then I thought you would never believe me." She stood pacing the room. Anger, confusion, heartbreak swirling together. "You still should have fought for us. I know, and I'm sorry. I was too proud, too broken. But I'm here now. Evelyn, I'm fighting now," before she could respond. The office door burst open. Julian's assistant. Lauren rushed in her face. Pale. "Sir, you both need to leave right now. Someone just hacked the building's security feed. They're broadcasting this. Footage live to the press." The monitors flickered. Static filled the screens. Then the security footage they had just seen began streaming to every news outlet across the city. The truth that had been hidden was now out in the open. Julian looked at her, his voice low, steady. "Maybe this is what we needed. The world will finally see what really happened." And as the city below exploded with flashing lights and breaking headlines, Evelyn realized her life had just changed again. Not from the pregnancy, not from the past, but from a truth too powerful to hide anymore. For the first time in months, she didn't feel anger, only the faint echo of hope that maybe, just maybe, the storm between them was beginning to clear. The news spread across Manhattan. Like wildfire before the morning was over, every major outlet had the same headline. Billionaire Julian Reed was framed by corporate rivals. Footage proves innocence. The city buzzed with shock and curiosity, and in the middle of it all, Evelyn Hart sat alone in her penthouse, watching her phone vibrate endlessly. Journalists, investors, even her own board demanding statements. Her world was spinning again. The truth was out, but peace was nowhere to be found. She turned off her phone and pressed her palms to her eyes. She had spent 3 weeks hating a man who hadn't betrayed her. 3 weeks believing a lie. 3 weeks building walls that now felt like a persona. Soft knock at the door made her jolt. She hesitated, then opened it and found Nora Kim, her best friend and public relations strategist, standing there with 2 coffees and a knowing expression. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Nora said, handing her 1 coffee more. "Like the ghost of my mistakes," Evelyn whispered. Nora studied her for a long moment. "You saw the footage, didn't you?" "I did it. Changes everything. Or maybe it changes nothing." Evelyn's voice trembled. "He still let me walk away. He still didn't fight for Meso." "What?" "Now Nora asked you. Forgive him and play happy family." "I don't know," Evelyn muttered. "The problem is, I still love him. That's always been the problem." Nora's eyes sharpened. "Then maybe it's time we see if he really deserves that love. Maybe it's time to test him." "What do you mean, test him?" Evelyn frowned. "I mean, I go to him," she said simply. "I'll offer a fake business partnership, a consultancy deal for Reed Innovations. I'll see if he's really changed, if he's as loyal as he claims. If he passes, he's real. If he doesn't, then you know before you hand him your heart again." Evelyn hesitated. "That's manipulative. That's necessary," Nora countered. "You're carrying his child, Eve. You can't risk another heartbreak." The next afternoon, Nora stepped into the glass tower of Reed Innovations, her heels echoing like gunshots. Her outfit was sharp, her expression disarming. Julian's assistant led her into his office. He looked up from his laptop, and for a moment Nora saw what Evelyn had fallen for. Calm eyes, a quiet kind of strength and exhaustion beneath the surface mist. "Kim," he said, standing polite. "Formal. How can I help you?" She smiled sweetly. "I've been consulting for several tech companies lately, and I believe Reed Innovations could use a new narrative. After everything that's happened." He gestured for her to sit down. "I appreciate the offer, but we already have a PR division. I'm not here to pitch a service," she said, leaning forward. I'm here to pitch an opportunity, the kind that could change your reputation overnight and possibly your personal life, too. His brows furrowed. Personal life. Excuse me. She smiled, letting her words drop like poison. I mean, someone like you doesn't have to spend his nights alone. There are ways to recover faster from heartbreak. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then he said quietly, "My nights are fine, Miss Kim. They're filled with plans for my child and her mother. And if that's not the answer you expected, then maybe we're done here." Nora studied him closely, but he didn't look away. His voice was steady, his gaze direct. There was no flicker of interest, no weakness, only certainty. When she left the office, her heart pounded. She called Evelyn the second she stepped outside. "He passed," she said, breathless. "He didn't even blink. He told me his nights are for you. And the baby?" Evelyn didn't answer for a long time when she finally spoke. Her voice was soft. "Maybe I didn't give him enough credit. Maybe he really did change. But that night..." As she prepared for bed, a new email notification appeared on her phone. It was from an anonymous address subject line. Cassandra was never the real enemy beneath. It was a single attachment, a photo taken that morning of Nora leaving Julian's. Building captioned, "He's already moving on," just like before. Evelyn's chest tightened. Her heart caught between belief and doubt. She stared at the image, the old ache returning. Could it be true again? Could history be repeating itself? Or was someone trying to destroy them again? Down in the city, Julian sat alone in his office, scrolling through security footage of his own. His jaw tight, his phone ringing. Unanswered, he had seen the same photo spreading across gossip blogs, and he knew exactly what it meant. Someone was still watching them. Someone who wanted to ruin the second chance he had fought so hard to earn. Lightning flashed beyond his window. He whispered to the empty room, "Whoever you are, you'll regret it. Because this time, I'm not losing her again." The morning broke gray and heavy over Manhattan rain, sliding down the windows of Evelyn's penthouse like melted glass. She hadn't slept. Her mind replayed the image over and over. Nora leaving Julian's building, the caption screaming betrayal. She tried to silence the doubt, but it clawed at her like a living thing. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him with someone else. She told herself to breathe, to think rationally, but the ache in her chest was louder than reason. Downstairs, her driver waited to take her to a board meeting, but instead of heading toward Serene Life headquarters, she gave a different command. "Read innovations." Her assistant tried to protest on the phone, but she hung up. This time she wanted the truth from Julian's mouth, not from gossip, not from screens. When she arrived, the receptionist froze, unsure whether to announce her or bow to her presence. Julian's assistant quickly appeared, startled. "Miss Hart, you don't have an appointment." Evelyn's tone was cool but sharp. "Tell him I'm not here for business. I'm here for the truth a minute." Later, she was standing in the doorway of his office. He looked up from a stack of documents, his eyes widening slightly. "Evelyn," he started, but she cut him off. "I saw the photo," she said flatly. "The one of Nora leaving your building. Do you want to tell me what that was?" His expression didn't change, though. Something dark flashed in his eyes. "Sit down first." "No," she said. "Tell me no." He exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. "Nora came to test me, Evelyn. She wanted to see if I'd changed. She told me afterward that you asked her to. I didn't know at first, but I figured it out and let her finish. Because I wanted you to see that. I meant every word I said." Her stomach tightened. "I didn't send that photo," he continued. "I think whoever framed me the first time is still trying to destroy us." She hesitated, her voice low. "Why should I believe that? Because they sent the same picture to me," he said, turning his laptop around, an email open. Same subject line, same image. The sender traced to an encrypted domain based in Hong Kong. Her breath caught you. "Traced it." He nodded. I've been tracing every anonymous lead since Cassandra fell. The moment this came in, I called my investigator. They're closing in on whoever's behind all of it, but it's not over yet." For a long moment, silence filled the room. She studied him, trying to read the man in front of her. He was different. Calmer, grounded. The arrogance that used to shield his emotions had been replaced by something raw, something honest. "Don't know if I can trust you yet," she said quietly. "I don't expect you to," he replied softly. "But I'll prove it every day until you can." Before she could answer, the office intercom buzzed. "Mr. Reed, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent, send them in," he said without hesitation. The door opened and Cassandra Lee walked in. Her once flawless demeanor shattered her clothes, disheveled, her eyes wide with panic. "She's coming," she whispered. "She's after both of you." Evelyn stepped back, stunned. Cassandra's voice shook. "I was blackmailed. I thought I was helping investors take down Reed Innovations. But it's bigger. There's a woman running it. Now she calls herself Valeria Cross. She's been watching both of you for months. She wants the company. And the baby." Julian moved around his desk, his tone sharp and cold. "Why would anyone want my child?" Cassandra's eyes darted. Between them. Not the child directly. The story she wants to own. The story. The fall and rise of Julian Reed and Evelyn Hart. She plans to leak false records to ruin you both and claim your brands under her media empire. Evelyn's pulse raced her, hand instinctively resting on her stomach. This was beyond revenge. This was war. "Why are you warning us now?" Julian asked. "Because she's already here," Cassandra said, her voice breaking. "She followed me. She knows I came to warn you. You have to leave." Now. The lights flickered, the sound of thunder echoing against the glass walls, and from below came the distant wail of alarms. The building security system triggered. Julian grabbed Evelyn's hand. "Come on, we're getting out of here." Security guards rushed into the hallway, ushering them toward the emergency exit. Evelyn's heart pounded. She could barely think as they descended the stairs. Flashes from security cameras glinting off the walls somewhere below. Someone had cut the power by the time they reached the underground garage. Julian's car was already waiting, engines running. His driver tense as he opened the door. "Get in now, sir, it's not safe." Evelyn slid into the back seat, her hands shaking. Julian climbed in beside her. Cassandra hesitated at the door before disappearing into the shadows. The car sped through the storm-soaked streets, sirens fading behind them. Evelyn turned to Julian, her voice trembling. "Where are we going? Somewhere safe?" he said. "My beach house, no one knows about it." He looked out the window. Lightning slicing through the sky. Her reflection pale and haunted the city shrinking behind them. And in that fleeting moment, she realized this wasn't just about love anymore. It was survival, and for the first time. She wasn't sure if she and Julian were running from danger or toward it. The drive to the coast stretched long through the storm. The city lights vanished behind them, replaced by the endless hum of rain against the glass. Evelyn leaned back, against the seat, her pulse unsteady, her mind replaying Cassandra's warning. Valeria Cross, a name she had never heard, yet already felt like a ghost haunting her future. Julian sat beside her, silent, his jaw tight, his hand clenched on his knee. His phone buzzed, but he ignored it. When they finally arrived, the beach house stood like a shadow on the edge of the world. Glass walls facing the raging ocean lightning, carving silver lines across the dark sky. Julian unlocked the door motion sensors, flickering on, revealing a place that looked more like a retreat than a mansion. Minimalist furniture, warm wood floors, soft amber light. But tonight it felt like a fortress. He turned to her. "I bought this place years ago when I needed to disappear. From everything, no one knows it exists, not even the press." She stepped inside, removing her soaked coat. her eyes scanning the view beyond the glass. The waves crashed violently against the shore. "It's beautiful," she murmured, "and terrifying." He gave a faint smile like us. They dried off in silence. The air between them charged with unspoken questions. She finally asked, "What if Cassandra was telling the truth? What if someone really is after us?" He met her gaze. "Then we find out who it is before. They find us later that night when she couldn't sleep." She wandered into his office on the second floor. A fire burned low in the hearth, papers spread across the desk. Notes, maps, bank records. Julian sat there studying a file, his face lit by the glow of the laptop. She approached quietly. "What are you looking at?" "The offshore accounts. He said I found transactions tied to Reed Innovations that I never approved. They trace back to Valeria Cross and a shell company linked to an old investor, one who used to work with your father." Her breath caught my father, she whispered. He nodded. "Michael Hart sold a silent partnership stake to her years ago, after you started Serene Life. She's been using it to access both our companies. It's why she targeted us. She wanted our merger to fail, so she could take everything in. The aftermath." Evelyn gripped the edge of the desk, a chill running down her spine. "So all this time, it wasn't just about us. It was about control, about legacy." She looked at him, her eyes softening. "I thought I was done with you, Julian. But somehow we keep getting pulled back together. Maybe the universe isn't done with us yet," he said quietly. Before she could reply, the security monitor on the wall flickered. Static filled the screen. Then a figure appeared standing in the rain outside the gate. A woman in a dark coat, umbrella tilted just enough to hide her face. Julian moved instantly, hitting the lights. "Stay here," he said. Grabbing his gun from the drawer, she grabbed his arm. "You can't go out there alone." He looked down at her, his expression soft but firm. "I won't let anything happen to you or our child." He stepped out into the storm. The door slamming behind him, Evelyn stood frozen, every sound amplified. By the thunder, then came a sharp cracked glass breaking downstairs. She ran to the balcony, looking down through the rain. Julian stood facing the intruder. The woman lowered her umbrella, revealing sharp features, black hair slicked to her face. "Valeria, cross in the flesh. You should have stayed quiet," she shouted over the wind, her voice cold. "I offered you power, Julian, but you chose love, foolish choice. You destroyed enough lives," he said evenly. "You won't touch hers again." She smiled cruelly, then raised a small device, pressing a button before he could react. A car exploded near the gate, flames roaring into the sky. The shockwave threw him backward. Evelyn screamed, racing down the stairs, barefoot, her heart pounding. "Julian," she called out, smoke and heat filling the air. She found him on the ground, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, but alive. "We have to go now," he gasped, pulling her toward the back exit as another explosion shook the ground. The beach house burning behind them. They stumbled through the dunes toward the dark stretch of beach, wind whipping her hair, her pulse hammering. She glanced back at the inferno that had once been their sanctuary. Julian stopped, leaning against a dune, catching his breath. "I called an old friend," he whispered. "Someone who owes me a favor. We'll be safe soon." She looked at him, fear and love clashing in her eyes. "Julian, whoever this woman is, she won't stop until one of us is gone." He looked out at the horizon, the fire reflecting in his eyes. "Then we make sure it's not us," as the sound of sirens grew faint in the distance. The two of them stood together on the edge of the world, their past burning behind them, their future uncertain, and above them, lightning split the sky like fate itself. Choosing sides. The morning after the explosion, the ocean was calm as if the night before had never happened. The air smelled of salt smoke and danger. Evelyn sat wrapped in a blanket on the sand, staring at the horizon, her eyes heavy from exhaustion, her thoughts heavier. Julian sat a few feet away, his clothes torn, his hands bruised from the blast. He hadn't said a word in hours, only watched the waves crash and fade like the rhythm of his own guilt. A black car appeared on the distant road, kicking up sand. When it stopped, a tall man stepped out, dressed in black with the quiet authority of someone who had seen war. Julian stood to meet him, his jaw set. "Good to see you, Rafe," he said. The man nodded wordlessly, his eyes flicking to Evelyn. "She's the reason. You called?" he said softly. She and the baby Rafe Kane was Julian's oldest friend, a former intelligence operative who now ran a private security network. If anyone could find Valeria Cross, it was him. He crouched near the burnt remains of Julian's phone, examining the charred circuit. The device that triggered the explosion was military grade, he said. Finally, whoever she is, she's not alone. She's backed by someone with deep pockets. Julian's expression hardened. Then we'll burn those. Pockets empty, that afternoon, Rafe set up temporary equipment in a rented safe house. Inland computers, drones, encrypted phones. Evelyn watched him move with cold precision, while Julian paced the room, his body restless, his eyes never leaving her for long. When he caught her gaze, he said softly, "I'm sorry I brought you into this." She looked at him, her voice quiet. "You didn't bring me into it. I married you, remember?" He smiled faintly, but there was pain in it. Then the power flickered for a split second. All the monitors went dark. Rafe froze. "That's not good." He said, "Someone's trying to trace our signal," before he could finish. The screen flashed static, then words appeared in red. "Hello, Julian. Did you really think you could hide Evelyn's?" Blood went cold. Julian stepped forward. "Valeria, what do you want?" Distorted female voice came through the speakers, calm and venomous. "I already told you everything, power control. But now you've made it personal. You took what was mine." She paused, letting the words sink in. "You took the empire that should have been mine, and you gave it to her." The wellness queen, Evelyn clenched her fists, anger rising. This was never about business, was it? This was jealousy. Valeria laughed. "Jealousy is for weak women. I'm after legacy, and you're both standing in my way. Enjoy your borrowed time." The connection cut, leaving silence thick and heavy. Rafe began typing furiously. "She's using rotating servers. We can't trace her yet, but she's close within. The state may be closer." Julian turned to Evelyn. "We can't stay here. Pack what you need." "We move tonight." She hesitated. "Where to?" "There's one place left," he said quietly. "Your mother's old cottage in Vermont. No one would think to look there." They left. At sunset, the sky painted gold and blood red. Julian drove through winding forest roads, his hand occasionally brushing hers every time thunder rolled. She felt the baby stir inside her, reminding her what they were fighting for. Hours later, they reached the cottage's small wooden walls wrapped in ivy. It looked peaceful, untouched by the chaos of their world. Julian carried their bags inside, checked the windows, locked the doors. He moved like a man ready for war. But when she caught his eyes, she saw something else: fear, after a simple meal. They sat by the fireplace, silence stretching between them until Evelyn finally spoke. "Do you ever regret it?" He looked at her, puzzled. "Regret? What?" "Loving me," she whispered. "It's brought nothing but pain." He reached for her hand and shook his head. "Pain, yes, but regret, never. You're the only thing that ever made sense in all this madness." Before she could respond, the faint sound of an engine echoed outside. Headlights swept briefly across the window. Julian stood, instantly motioning for silence. He peered through the curtain. Two vehicles parked down the road, black-tinted windows moving slowly closer. Rafe's voice came through the earpiece. Static, heavy. "Julian, we've got company. They found you, Evelyn's." Pulse spiked as Julian grabbed her hand. "Come with me now," he whispered, leading her toward the back door. The forest loomed behind the cottage, dark and endless. She could already see flashlights cutting through the trees, men shouting orders Valeria's. People. Julian pulled her behind an old stone wall, his breath uneven. "Stay here." "No," she whispered. "I'm not leaving you." He looked at her eyes fierce. "I swore I'd protect you and our child, even if it means you hate me for it now. Run when I tell you." Gunfire cracked through the night, a bullet shattering the cottage window. Evelyn gasped. Julian turned, fired back with Rafe's pistol, and shouted, "Now run. Evelyn, run." She hesitated only for a heartbeat before sprinting toward the woods, her heart racing, the baby kicking as if urging her forward behind her. The world erupted in chaos. Gunfire. Fire voices shouting his name, and in the distance his voice broke through the storm of sound. "I'll find you, Evelyn, I promise." As she disappeared into the darkness, tears streamed down her face. The Manhattan Queen now running barefoot through mud and leaves, her heart breaking with every step, the night swallowing her whole, unaware of what she would find. Waiting at dawn, a truth even more dangerous than the bullets behind her. The forest was alive with whispers. Branches cracked under Evelyn's feet as she ran through the darkness. Her breath ragged, her heartbeat louder than the wind behind her. The sound of gunfire faded, replaced by the distant roar of the river. She stumbled over roots, clutching her stomach, whispering to the baby inside, "Stay with me." Just a little longer. Rain began to fall again. Soft at first, then heavy, washing away the trail of footprints. She pressed forward until she saw the faint glow of light ahead, a cabin hidden between the trees, smoke rising from its chimney. She hesitated, her instincts screaming caution, but she had no choice. Her body was trembling with exhaustion when she pushed open the door. The warmth of a fire met her face. The cabin was small, a single room lined with old photographs. A radio crackled in the corner. An elderly woman turned from the hearth, her eyes sharp. "Despite the years, you look like you've been running from the devil, child," she said. Evelyn tried to speak, but her voice broke. "I just need somewhere to hide." The woman nodded slowly. "Sit down. You're safe for now. My name's Martha, and I don't ask questions unless you want me to." She handed her a blanket and a cup of hot tea. Evelyn took it gratefully, her fingers shaking. Meanwhile, miles away, Julian fought his way through the chaos, bullets splintering wood around him. Rafe pulled him behind an overturned table. "She's gone, Julian. We need to move before they circle." "Back!" Julian's eyes were wild. "Where is she? Which direction?" "Northeast," Rafe shouted toward the ridge. "If she kept running, she'll hit the river." Julian didn't hesitate. He pushed through the wreckage, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. Rafe cursed under his breath. Following close behind, the forest swallowed them both. Back at the cabin, Evelyn woke to thunder. She had fallen asleep by the fire. Martha sat nearby, cleaning an old rifle. Her tone casual. "You didn't tell me who you were running from, but whoever it is, they'll find you soon if you stay." Evelyn opened her mouth to reply when a news broadcast from the radio froze her heart. The anchor's voice was calm but urgent. Billionaire Julian Reed presumed dead after explosion near Vermont. Cabin authorities confirm body not yet recovered. The cup fell from her hand, shattering on the floor. Her vision blurred, her body numb. "He can't be gone," she whispered. Martha looked up, concerned. "Who did you say he was?" "My husband." Evelyn choked. My husband." Outside, the wind howled as if mourning with her. Hours passed. She sat staring at the fire, tears drying on her face. The ache inside too deep for words. She had lost him once before through pride. But this felt final. Then came a sound. Outside, soft but distinct footsteps approaching. Martha reached for her rifle, but Evelyn stopped her. Her heart pounded against her ribs. The door creaked open, and a shadow filled the frame. Julian stood there, drenched mud streaked across his face, one arm bleeding, but alive. For a moment, neither spoke. the firelight flickering between them. Then she crossed the room and threw her arms around him, her sobs breaking the silence. He held her close, whispering, "I told you I'd find you." When she pulled back, her hands trembled. "You're hurt. I've been worse," he said with a faint smile. "But we can't stay long. They'll be back." She frowned. "How did you escape?" He hesitated. "Valeria wanted me alive. She thinks she can use me to destroy you." "She doesn't." "No, I'm still one step ahead." They left the cabin before dawn, guided by the pale silver light of morning. The rain had stopped, but the world still felt heavy. They reached a clearing where Rafe waited with a truck engine running the moment Julian helped Evelyn inside. Rafe handed him a file. "We traced Valeria's operation. It's not just her. She's backed by an international media conglomerate. Their headquarters are in Montreal. If we end this, we end it there." Evelyn looked at Julian, determined. "We end it together." As they crossed the border. Later that day, she stared out the window at the mountains, her reflection faint in the glass. Every mile forward felt like stepping deeper into destiny. She wasn't just fighting for love anymore. She was fighting for truth for their child, for the life stolen from them that night they stopped at a motel under false names. Julian sat on the edge of the bed studying maps and documents. Evelyn watched him silently, the fire in his eyes no longer, just anger but purpose. When he noticed her watching, he said softly, "I almost lost you twice. I'm not letting it happen again." She touched his cheek. "You didn't lose me, Julian?" "Not yet." A sudden knock on the door cut the moment short. Rafe drew his weapon. Opening it slowly, a courier stood outside, soaked from rain, holding an envelope. "No return address." He said, "It's for Mr. Reed." Julian took it. Opening carefully, inside was a single sheet of paper with a blood-red seal. He unfolded it and read aloud, "You can save her or you can save the company. You can't have." But Evelyn's heart sank. "Who sent that, Valeria?" He said quietly. "She wants me to choose." He looked at her then, at the letter. His jaw set hard. "She underestimated me," he said. "Finally, because this time I'm not choosing between love and power. I'm burning down everything that stands in the way of both us." The thunder rolled again in the distance Evelyn reached for, his hand, their fingers intertwined, unshakable. Two souls who had lost everything and were now ready to fight for it together. Unaware that by dawn, they would face the final trap Valeria had been building since the beginning. A trap that would test not just their love, but their very survival. The motel room was silent, except for the low hum of the rain outside. Evelyn couldn't sleep. She sat by the window watching droplets slide down the glass, her hand resting over her stomach, her mind racing. With fear and questions, the letter on the table glowed faintly under the lamplight. Its words burned into her memory. "You can save her, or you can save the company. You can't have both." Julian sat across the room, his head in his hands, his shirt still, stained with dried blood. Rafe had gone to make calls, leaving them alone. The weight of that threat hung between them, heavier than the storm outside. Finally, Evelyn broke the silence. What if she's serious? What if Valeria really can destroy everything you built? He looked up, meeting her eyes, then let her destroy it. "I'm not losing you again," she wanted to believe him, but fear gnawed at her. What if this isn't about the company? What if she's after the baby? He stiffened at that, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Then she's already signed her death sentence." The lights flickered. The power cut for a split second, then returned. Julian moved instantly, checking the door and window locks. He turned to her. "Stay away from the window. Stay close to me." She frowned. "What is it?" He said nothing, but his eyes were scanning every corner like a man who had seen this trap before. A sharp knock echoed through the door. Evelyn's heart stopped. She grabbed his arm. "Don't open it," Rafe's voice came from the other side. It's me. But something about it sounded off too calm, too. Even Julian motioned for her to stay back. He picked up his gun and opened the door halfway. The hallway outside was empty, only an envelope taped to the door. He tore it free. His name scrawled across it. Inside was a flash drive and a note play it alone. Evelyn watched as he inserted it into his laptop. The screen lit up, showing Valeria sitting in a dark room behind her. Monitors flickered with security feeds from their lives, the clinic, Evelyn's apartment, Julian's office, the cottage, every place they thought was safe. "You should have taken my offer," she said, her tone smooth, almost amused. "Now you'll watch everything you love crumble before your eyes." The video, cut to live footage. Evelyn gasped. It was Serene Life headquarters, her own company boardroom. Her employees gathered, and a woman in a dark suit standing before them, addressing the press. Valeria Cross, wearing Evelyn's brand colors. Her voice steady. "Today, Serene Life merges with Cross Media. Global, our founder Evelyn Hart has resigned. Effective immediately," what Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling. "That's impossible. She forged it." Julian said, "She has your digital signature? She's stealing everything while we're hiding." Rage replaced fear. She slammed her hand against the wall. "No more running, Julian. This ends tonight." Rafe burst into the room moments later, holding his phone. "We found her headquarters, Montreal, downtown, security-like a fortress. But there's a private gala tomorrow night. Valeria will be there, every executive, every investor. She's showing off the takeover." Julian looked at Evelyn. "We crash it." She nodded. No hesitation the next night. The city glowed under silver. Rain. The Montreal skyline a blur of light and deception. Evelyn walked beside Julian, dressed in a sleek black gown. Her hair pinned her expression cold. She looked every inch the woman Valeria had tried to erase. They slipped through the back entrance of the skyscraper, moving like shadows through corridors pulsing with music and laughter. When they reached the balcony overlooking the gala floor, Valeria stood center stage, raising a glass to her guests, her voice echoing through the hall tonight. "We celebrate not the end, but the rebirth of innovation and truth." Julian leaned close to Evelyn. Ready, she nodded, then stepped forward into the light. The room fell silent. Every camera turned to her. Valeria's smile froze. "Hello, Valeria." Evelyn's voice was calm, clear. "I don't remember resigning." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Security moved forward, but Julian raised his phone, projecting the footage from the flash drive onto the wall behind them. The video showing Valeria's crimes. The blackmail. The explosions. The forged documents. The threats. The room erupted chaos. Investors shouting, reporters snapping photos. Valeria's mask shattered. She lunged toward them, fury twisting her face, but before she could reach them, security agents. Closed in, Rafe appeared from the shadows with the team, his badge flashing. This time she wasn't walking away. As they dragged her out, Valeria's voice echoed behind her. "You think you've won, but you still don't know who gave me your name." Evelyn turned her head. "Who gave you that?" She laughed as they pulled her away. "You should ask your friend Nora." The crowd noise dimmed. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Nora hours later, back in their hotel room. The victory felt hollow. Evelyn sat on the bed, her face pale. Nora, her best friend, the one who had promised to protect her image, to test Julian, to guard her secrets, had betrayed her. Julian knelt before her, gently lifting her chin. "She did this to separate us again, to make us doubt we can't let her win." Before she could answer, pain tore through her stomach, sharp and deep. She gasped, clutching herself. Julian's face went white. "Evelyn, what's happening?" She barely managed to speak. "The baby, it's early." He scooped her up without hesitation, racing down the hall, shouting for help. Rain hammered the windows, thunder roaring overhead as if the sky itself was breaking open. Rafe met them at the car. "We're 10 minutes from the hospital." Go now, as the tires screamed against wet asphalt. Evelyn gripped Julian's hand, her face pale, her breath shallow. Don't leave me. He squeezed tighter. I'm right here, I'm not going anywhere. Not ever, and for a moment as lightning split the sky. They both knew that whatever waited on the other side of this storm would either destroy them forever or finally set them free. The hospital lights blurred into white streaks as the wheels of the stretcher rushed down the hallway. Nurses shouting orders, monitors beeping. Evelyn's breaths came sharp and uneven. Her hand clutched Julian's like a lifeline. She could barely speak through the pain. Julian, don't let them take the baby. Please promise me. He leaned down, his voice shaking. I won't, I swear. You'll both make it through this. The doctors pushed him back at the operating room doors. Sir, you can't go in. Please wait outside. He tried to fight them, but Rafe pulled him back. You'll help her more by staying alive. The doors closed with a metallic echo, leaving him staring at the red light above the sign that read in operation. Hours passed. Thunder rattled. The windows outside, Julian sat in the waiting area, his shirt still soaked with rain, his hands trembling. He replayed every moment, every mistake, every time he had chosen pride over love, and how fate had punished them both for it. Rafe stood nearby, silent, watching the corridor. Then his phone buzzed an unknown number. He answered it, his expression shifting instantly. He turned to Julian. It's Nora. Julian snatched the phone, his voice low, cold. What have you done? There was silence then. Nora's voice cracked. I didn't mean for any of this to go that far. Valeria blackmailed me. She had my brother's medical records. She threatened to expose everything. I tried to fix it, but she found out I was helping you. She was coming for Evelyn. I swear, I never wanted her. Hurt Julian's jaw clenched, his voice deadly calm. If she doesn't survive, you'll wish Valeria had finished the job. He hung up, throwing the phone against the wall. It shattered like the life he used to have. A doctor finally emerged, his expression unreadable. Mr. Reed, we managed to stabilize her. But we need to act fast. The baby's in distress. If we don't deliver now, we risk losing them both. Julian's vision tunneled. Do it save them both. The doctor nodded and disappeared. Again, minutes stretched into eternity. Then a faint cry pierced the air. Soft, fragile, pure. Julian rose to his feet as the nurse stepped out carrying a small bundle. She smiled, exhausted but genuine. It's a girl. He reached out his trembling hands, touching the tiny fingers that wrapped around his thumb. She looked so impossibly small, so alive. Where's Evelyn? He asked the nurse. Hesitated. She's weak, but she's fighting. When he finally entered her room, she was pale against the white sheets, tubes running from her arms, but her eyes fluttered open when she saw him. She smiled faintly. Did she make it? He nodded. Yes. She's perfect. Just like you. Her hand found his. I told you she would come early, she whispered. Maybe she just wanted to remind us how fragile life is. He sat beside her. Their hands still linked, the world shrinking down to just them and the rhythmic beep of the monitors. You scared me, he said, his voice breaking. She smiled softly. You've always been hard to scare, Rafe. Entered quietly, holding his phone. The authorities confirmed it. He said Valeria's being transferred to federal custody. Her network's gone, but Nora's vanished. Julian met his gaze. Let her go if she runs. She's already lost. Rafe nodded, leaving. The Malone days passed. Evelyn recovered slowly, her strength returning with each sunrise. She watched Julian pacing the room, holding their daughter wrapped in a pink blanket, talking to her in a whisper about stars and second chances one morning. As the light poured in through the blinds, she said quietly, I think I finally understand why all of this happened. He looked up. Why to teach us that love isn't about never breaking. It's about choosing to rebuild even when it hurts, he crossed. to her side, pressing his forehead against hers. "I don't deserve you." She smiled. Maybe not, but she does. She looked at the baby asleep between them. Months later, the scandal had faded. Valeria's empire dismantled Serene Life and Reed Innovations, merged under a new name, the Hart Foundation, a project dedicated to mental health and integrity in business. The press called it redemption. They called it home. On the anniversary of that night, they stood together on the terrace of their rebuilt beach house, the ocean calm. This time the air filled with the sound of waves and distant laughter. Julian held Evelyn close, their daughter asleep inside her tiny heartbeat. The proof that even after fire, life finds a way to grow again. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. She turned, surprised, her eyes soft as he opened it. Inside was a ring, simple and gold, engraved with one line. "No more goodbye." She knelt in front of her. Not the billionaire, not the powerful CEO, just the man who had almost lost everything. Evelyn Hart. "Will you marry me again, this time without the world watching?" Her answer came with tears and laughter all at once. "Yes, because this time we already survived the worst," as they kissed. The sky opened, above them stars scattering across the dark horizon, and the ocean whispered against the sand like a vow. Renewed, some stories don't end where they break. They begin again, where two souls finally learn how to stay, and in that quiet moment beneath the stars, Evelyn Hart and Julian Reed were no longer the woman who ran, or the man who chased. They were just two hearts finding their way home at last.